President Trump announced new executive orders this past weekend. He said he did this because Congress could not come to a deal on their own. Now, the first executive order is for enhanced unemployment benefits at $400 a week, but states might have to kick in some money for this. The second one extends protections against eviction orders. The third executive order extends the student loan payment deferral deadline, which only pertains to federal loans, not private. And the fourth order would defer federal tax withholding. Now, there are many questions about these new executive orders, including, can the president legally do this and how will they be funded? Here to talk about this is Travis County GOP Chairman Matt Makoviak and Glenn Smith from Progress, Texas. Thank you both for joining us.
Sure.
Glenn, the president bypassed Congress with these executive orders, which Speaker Nancy Pelosi calls unconstitutional slop. In your opinion, are these actions legal, and would they help Americans in the long run?
No and no. President Trump could declare the planet Mars a new American state, but that wouldn't make it so, and that's about the worth of these orders. But he did say something that we should be aware of and alarmed by. He's talking about eliminating the payroll tax, and he said he'd make that elimination permanent if reelected. That would end Social Security. All voters should be aware that Trump's real promise with these orders is to take away their Social Security if he is reelected. That should alarm Americans of all ages who depend on that terrific program that has worked really well since it began. But he can't appropriate money, and that's a constitutional fact. And he doesn't have the power of Congress. And Congress has the power of the purse, and that's just the way it is. So this is a PR move by a president who's losing badly in the polls.
Matt, what do you make of the president's executive actions?
Yeah, I mean, for months and months and months, all we've heard is President Trump needs to show leadership, needs to take action. He's now done that, and he's done that in a number of areas that Democrats say they want. They want to extend unemployment benefits. They want to provide assistance to people who may be foreclosed upon or may be kicked out of their apartments. They say they want student loan payments frozen. I mean, these are things they say they want. And when Pelosi and Senate Republicans can't get a deal, and they're pretty far apart, the president has taken executive action. Look, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. The Democrats used executive action to pass DACA, the Deferred Action Against Childhood Arrivals program, which was apparently just held constitutional by the Supreme Court. If President Obama could do that, President Trump can do this. He's using the Stafford Act, which is an emergency provision. This is not permanent. It is a short period of time. And he has said to forgive the payroll tax going forward, that would take legislation. And just to Glenn's point on Social Security, Vice President Biden has supported cuts to the payroll tax in the past. Every time that's happened, you've had general funds make up the lost revenues for Social Security. So Social Security is not going to lose 1 cent. And I think Glenn knows that.
Glenn, the president wants to use money earmarked for disaster relief to pay for some of these executive orders. We're now in hurricane season, which experts predict will be extremely active. Any concerns here?
Well, first of all, I'm not going to trust President Trump on Social Security. You kidding me? That's the guy that did Trump University and ripped off hundreds and thousands of people. I'm not going to let America go down the tubes based on trust for President Trump. He's a liar and a cheat, and everybody knows it. So there's that. The difference in this between this and a DACA order is that it would give the power of the purse to the President of the United States and not Congress. And by the way, doing so gives an incentive to Senate Republicans not to reach a compromise. So if they knew that Trump was going to do this pretend order, so they didn't have to extend unemployment benefits, they could let Trump do it, and they would think that would help them more at election time than even them doing it. Well, that's a game that's cynical and hurts Americans. And I don't think Americans are going to see any of this money.
We are running out of time. Matt, talking about deferring federal taxes from September through the end of the year, does that make economic sense? I mean, these taxes will eventually have to be paid.
Yeah, so if the deferrals are not forgiven with legislation after the end of the year, they would have to be paid. But they do obviously increase the take-home pay that individuals will feel for the rest of the year at a time when the economy is feeling, some difficulty. Look, they extended unemployment insurance, which helps people who are not employed. And by doing this on the payroll tax, they're helping people who are employed but maybe having a tough time financially. So, again, this is another example where Democrats can't say yes, can't take yes for an answer. They beg for these three things to happen. When Congress cannot agree, the president takes executive orders to do it. He's putting the people first, and he's delivering on the things that are needed in an emergency on a temporary basis.